The thing is, sometimes in life, there are things you have to do that are hard. Like way hard. Harder than they should be. Harder than bucking storm clouds, someone over filled with lighting seeds. Harder than pulling off a sonic rainbow in front of the cloud ponies who don't believe you can do it. Harder than other hard things that are hard to do. Yeah, shut up. So picture the scene, right? Totally most awesome. Awesomest? Is awesomest or most awesome? Twilight would probably know. Wait, I'm getting off track. Stop that. Stay on topic. Picture the scene. The awesomest, most awesome filler of all of Equestria speeding through the skyways on the most taxing mission of her whole freaking life. And I don't mean taxing as in taxis. On the account of all weather ponies have access to a civil accountant to help us with crap like that. I mean, taxing us is tough, difficult, demanding, and other words like that. She speeds over the hilltops, over the housetops, and over the treetops, eagle eyes scanning the ground for her target. Suddenly, with effortless grace, she tilts into a perfect barrel roll and zooms down to the ground. Her target looks up, all eyes huge with awe and wonder and admiration, and being impressed of just how awesome the Pegasus is. She executes a perfect landing on a branch, as the target falls to her knees and begs her to take her right there in the middle of the orchard, begging for just one taste of her awesome lips. Well, maybe that last part didn't happen. At least not like that. She fell to her knees all right, but was still mostly because she was afraid of getting squished by a falling tree branch. See, that's a perfect landing. That wasn't so perfect. It was only half perfect. Or maybe a little less than half. Okay, I crashed. Is that what you wanted to hear? Sweet Celestia, you tried to set a mood for a story for ponies, and can't you just have a little poetic license? So yeah, if you haven't already figured it out, the whole awesomest filler in Equestria is me. And after all that landing, I had awesomely got my head stuck in the hole on the side of a really an awesome tree. It wasn't exactly the impression I was going for when I set out to that evening after work. I was aiming for a romantic adventurer who would make mares weak at their knees. Instead, I was coming off more like some idiot beginner who haven't even fly straight from the line. I could hear Applejack asking me if I was okay, and I yelled back that I was. I was just tired from working hard all day, and I had lost my bearings. I think she bought it, but I was too embarrassed and I was all ready to explode. Next thing I know is the base of my tail hurts like Tartarus. There is a loud popping noise, and I'm on the ground and hear some weird yoga position. Applejack's laughter was clear even with my tail in her mouth. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to kiss her or buck her into next week. And there's the freaking root of the problem. I glared up at her and asked her what was so funny. But in that freakish honest way of hers, she told me that I was, of course. She then spat out my tail and went right back to bucking apples, like me flying headfirst into trees in her orchard wasn't anything big, which I guess it's kind of true. But she could still have asked if I was okay first. I yelled after her that she clearly don't care about me, as if she was trying to leave me on the ground like that. She stopped and gave me this weird look, okay? Like those times I've said some inappropriate and didn't really get it until Twilight or Fluttershy or some ponies pulls me into one side and didn't explain it. I asked and thought maybe Applejack was going to do that, but she shook her head and carried on with what she'd been doing before I got there. I reconsidered my plan of attack, clearly bringing her to my knees with her passion over my awesomeness was a no-go. But I'd be damned if I went home this time, like I did with every other time, and tried to tell her how I feel. I got to get up on my feet, shot up into the air, and flew at the stupid apple tree, She was bucking so hard that the apples fell off. I figured she'd be happy. I figured I'd proven how useful even a Pegasus like me could be on a farm of earth ponies. I may even have said something about it as I touched down. Remember when I said some things that were way harder than they should be? She yelled at me. She actually yelled at me. I, of course, yelled right back the hell out of her. I was helping. She was bucking apples and I bucked them for her. She started yanking about the hard work and tradition and not taking the easy route, and I kind of turned out halfway through because her mouth looked very pretty and her eyes sparkle when she's angry. When she stomped her hoof, I startled too much and nearly fell off my feet on the freaking ground. She told me that if I wanted to help, I could help her best by just going the hell away. Well, how's that for gratitude? To spite her. I grabbed the biggest, juiciest apple from the basket next to her and took a big bite out of it. Her face just burst into flames. I flew away while she was still yelling at me about stealing apple family produce and being a no-good thief who deserved to have my wings ripped off and stuffed into my Jackie. I wonder what a Jaxie is. The apple was so big, red, and delicious, but when I landed on the cloud and took another bite, it tasted bitter and horrible. I really tried, I really did. I'd skip lunch, totally, not because I was nervous, because I'm too cold for nerves, so I should have been hungry. But that apple tasted awful past the first bite. I threw it as hard as I could, getting a perfect shot into the Sweet Apple Acres compost heap. See, I can do anything right when Applejack isn't around. Something about her just, well, it brings out the klutz in me. I settled down for a good grump. Ponies think that all I do is nap on the clouds, but that is where I do my best thinking. I reckon it's something to do with the air up there, and it lets me think clearer. I can't put a hoof on when my feelings for AJ change. She's ordinary as a mad bull and annoying as lightning bolt to the butt, but teasing her so much was fun. When I first moved to Ponyville, I didn't have that much with Sweet Apple Acres outside of buying cider and supervising Fluttershy's trips out there to make sure she got paid for something to sort out her animal problems. Damn Philly would do anything as unpaid favor and starve herself a homeless bankrupt death if I hadn't been there. Too nice for her own good. That's her problem. To be honest, Fluttershy was the only pony I could ever count on as a friend until Twilight moved to town. Then suddenly I had 5 pony best friends, 1 dragon friend, and a regular tea with the freaking princess. I mean, how cool is that? And it turns out non-Pegasi could be cool too. Even Rarity in her frippy-dippy dresses and makeup weren't a total washout. And then there was Applejack. It was so much fun competing her with over stuff. She may not have wings, but she has the heart of the Wonderbolt. She always gives me the run for my money, no pun intended, and that running of the leaves that was most fun I'd ever have in my life. It reminded me of how much I have a good competition and relit that fires inside me, not only want to be a Wonderbolt, but to pull my hoof out of my ass and actually do something about it. Applejack just couldn't sit on her ass and talk about that stuff. She put on her hat, scrape her hooves on the ground, and run a full pellet problem until has the good sense to get the hell of her away. Maybe when things have changed, or maybe it came later. All I know is that one day I'd pick on an awesome tree for a nap after a really hard shift at work, but spent a whole hour watching her get all sweaty from bucking trees instead. When I caught myself staring at her flank and licking my lips, I knew I was in deep trouble, too deep to get out. To tell you the truth, I didn't really want to get out either. But the thing is, AJ, not into mares, not into stallions much either, from what I can see. She's like the least romantic pony on the frickin' planet. Just look what happened to Tenderhoof. Oh, you should tell me how mare like that you'd, well, like her. Well, in my case, you don't. Or at least, you don't until her old friend, who got her real famous, then figured out her manager was a douchebag, comes into town, and you catch her staring at some sweaty flank on the same way you do. Color Tirana is fun and spunky, and talented and beautiful as she and AJ get on like a house on fire. Basically, she's my worst nightmare to come to life, and she's coming for a visit next week. 19. That's how many times I've tried to tell AJ how I feel about her. No matter how many things I tried, it never goes right. Never, ever. Not even a little. Either I mess up, or something out of my control goes wrong and we get interrupted by one of her family, or she's just plain and not listening. Not to mention the time Pinkie Pie appeared out of freaking nowhere and blasted us with her party cannon streamer so she could invite us to a welcome back our party. My ears didn't stop ringing that day after that one. I was also hoping that today would be the day I psyched myself up for it, though my 6-hour cloud clearing shift and 2 hours of follow-up paperwork. But instead, here I am lying on a cloud, going over how it went wrong again, wishing things would go away for once. Again, thinking maybe the fastest, easiest thing would just be a fly at her, lips first, and match D, and let her work the rest out after we're done playing tonsil hockey again. Hey, ow, what the? How many apple did get back up here? Wait, this isn't my apple. It has no bites in it. So where did this... Big Mac? Wow, he sure has some throwing hoof. What the heck does he want? I peered over the cloud and eventually obey his gesturing to come back down to earth. Big Mac and I don't talk. Well, he barely talks anyhow. But when he does say his few words, they were never to me. He surprises me now by letting loose on the whole bunch of them. I stare, jaw practically hitting the floor, as he blurts out, as much as a pony who talks at the speed of a sludge can blurt anything. How he knows that I've been up to before I can even say anything. I needed to hear a few things. Of course, I can't help interrupting him to ask what the hell he thinks I've been up to. No point in dropping myself in cow poop if I don't need to, you know? He gives me the look so similar to his sister's that it's spooky and tells me he's not an idiot, no matter what every pony thinks. For a second, I get this weird knot in my stomach, which I think it might be guilt or gas. I'm not sure which. The feeling fades as he talks, and I don't fart, which means it was probably guilt. Well, you see, apparently AJ knew I was up to from the start. She's one smart cookie, that Earth pony. She may have not finished school, but there is no pony in Ponyville sharper than she is. She knew I liked her from the very first time I stood on her porch and asked her if she'd like to see a movie together. Something that turned into me, her, plus all of our friends being teleported to Manhattan by twilight, because getting a princess to visit your cinema on an opening night really hikes up the ticket sales, so we all got freebies from the manager. What's even more shocking? When Big Mac told me that she felt the same way. So why didn't she say anything? Why didn't she put me out of my misery and let me know I didn't have to keep making myself a fool? Remember I said when she never finished school? Well, there's a reason for that. It's the same reason Granny Smith comes to and falls asleep in, PTA meetings, and why Apple Bloom is always bringing her siblings her report card instead of her mom and dad. Big Mac tells me how Applejack grew up sudden and grew up fast. In the space of a few months, she hardened herself from the fun-loving filly who went to camp and played guitar for her workaholic farmer rest of us have already known her as. Applejack knows hard work, and she knows loss better than any pony. And it worried Big Mac a lot when they were growing up, and one bad harvest could have finished the farm for good. He tells me how it still worries him now, how that quarrel over her trying to buck every tree in Apple Acres without help, while he was injured and was getting his big symptom of whole mindset. It's how she views the world. She's always been too afraid to ask for help, too afraid to make connections with anyone that she isn't blood related to. Blood means she has allegiance and that she can't get away from. But before Twilight came to town, AJ refused to get close to any pony because getting close means caring, and caring means that if you lose that pony, the loss will hurt all the more. I stare at Big Mac. This is even more than I've ever heard him say before. Like ever. When he's finally done, He stares hard at me, like I'm supposed to say something. I mutter why he's telling me this all somehow. If anything, his stare gets worse. Can a stare be loud? Because his stare feels deafening. Apparently AJ was making friends with all of his dreams come true. He watched his little sister become something like the pony she used to be. Opening up to ponies who weren't family, risking her neck for them, putting herself out there in the world again. For the first time she asked for him to cover her so she could go off with us on an adventure. He damn near drop kicked us out of her door with a pair of full saddlebags. She's come so far in the last year that she actually chokes up when she speaks. Seriously, there are tears in his eyes and everything. I don't know where to look as he sniffs and wipes his nose. And me? Where do I find the fit into this story of his? It seems he thinks I could just be the thing that make Applejack truly happy. At least if she'll let herself be. See, Applejack's opened up the friendship, caring, but love. That kind of emotion isn't quite there yet. And Big Mac thinks I'm just a pony to get her there because she likes me back. Even if she can't admit to even herself. Plus, I'm too stubborn to quit. And his own words clearly adore her. Adore? Ready on there, big guy? I think she's hot and sexy and awesome. And cool. And pretty, and I admire her whole bunch. And I kind of wish I could be more like her. And she's just fun to hang out with. And if I could kiss her just once and find out what her lips taste like, I could die happy and... Okay, so maybe I do adore her, but that's just a little. A very little. And as much as I watch him walk away, I looked up into the sky. Sunset won't be for another few hours yet. I smile to myself, open my wings, and overtake him to the orchard. I've still got time for attempt number 20. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video. And I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.